Good evening. How are you tonight? I'm Jason Debley, and tonight's video review of Scotch whiskey is Glenfiddich single malt Scotch whiskey, 15-year-old, but not the Solera Vat blend, which is widely available and very good, but rather this is the Distillery Edition, non-chill filtered and bottled at 51% ABV. As you can see, I've been sampling this for a while, as have my friends. And when I think of Glenfiddich, what comes to mind is probably the best-selling single malt Scotch in the world, at least the 12-year-old is, because it's so widely available and very approachable. Glenfiddich, that triangular green bottle, is an icon in the Scotch industry and for the consumer. I think launched in the late 60s and just took off from there and really paved the way for other single malts. The 12-year-old, it's pretty good, you know, for a novice, new to whiskey, and wanting to see what it's all about. It's approachable, it's smooth, bit of honey, bit of apple, bit of pear, with a little bit of syrup over it. Not bad stuff. Not the greatest, but not bad. You get what you pay for. Good value for money. Move up the brand extension, let's say, to the 15-year-old, which I previously mentioned, the Solera Vat blend. Now you're getting into quality. I think it's bottled at about 43% alcohol per volume, and the Solera blend, which is a single malt, but we call it a Solera Vat blend because what they do is it's a fractional blending technique where the vat is not entirely emptied of its contents, these are massive vats, to make a bottling, but rather they take about 50% out, and the remaining 50% will be a part of the next batch. And the 15-year-old is made up of, I think, 70% from refill bourbon, 20% from European oak, and roughly 10% virgin oak, to produce a great single malt at a very affordable price. And I'm familiar with it, have reviewed it, and highly recommend the 15. The 18 is very gentle, pear, apple again, but so gentle that I think the 15 is better. The 21, I'm not even going to go there because then you're getting into a real value for money proposition where I think you're paying a bit too much. But tonight we're looking at Glenfiddich Distillery Edition, the 15-year-old, meaning there's no whiskey single malt used in here by the distillery less than 15 years old. And I would wager there's certainly some older whiskey in here. Now, undiluted at 51%, you know this is going to have some kick. Undiluted, the nose is quite strong notes of alcohol, grapefruit, some really exotic citrus, maybe a bit of lime, pineapple, wood, but not particularly smoky or what I would say sherried, and not that impressive a nose when you haven't added water. Now, when you try it on the palate, it's powerful, as you would expect at 51%. And I am getting a real burst of flavor, deep caramel, spiced orange rind, black pepper, and sherry. This single malt is made up of Oloroso sherry casks as well as some ex-bourbon casks, and I really taste the sherry. They don't advertise it or promote it as a sherried malt, but I think they should. There's a lot of sherry going on here, and it's good. The finish, or the flavors left on your palate after you've consumed it, is clearly, again, sherry, oak, accented with a fair bit of black pepper. Now I've been trying this, sampling this over the past month and some friends, and I prefer it with a bit of water. The question is how much. You have to adjust to taste, but if you have a single pour, try a 1/4 teaspoon of water. So I got a teaspoon, a little bit of water. I'm going to give her a stir. And for water, always use distilled water, Evian, non-carbonated, not tap water. By adding the water, you bring out complexity. You bring out a lot more white chocolate, a lot more oak. That sherry, it takes on a more nuanced texture. It becomes velvety. I really recommend with this single malt, and I think when it was bottled, it's intended to be consumed with a bit of water. How much water is a matter of taste. Best to go with a little at first. Some people go as little as a drop or two. I like 1/4 of a teaspoon. Not a lot, but you know, a little bit. I don't know if you can see that there, but you know, maybe a little more than that. But anyway, you get the idea. On the nose, when it's been diluted, it becomes more friendly. The sherry comes out vanilla, much nicer. A little bit of peat and a little bit of sea air. I'm liking it a lot more. Again, let's take another taste. Creamy, velvety, textured sherry, as I said before. Good American oak that's been accented or with bourbon. Provides a nice counterpoint to that Oloroso sherry that we're tasting. Now the finish. You're left with drying sherry, malt, salt, and a wee bit of black pepper. Actually, a little more than a wee bit. Black pepper, a bit of smoke too. A little bit of maybe cigar smoke. This is good, and the price is not unreasonable. When this was first launched, I don't know if I said earlier, but I think in about 2010 they launched this whiskey at duty-free shops in airports around the world. Not every airport, but the big ones like Heathrow and Dubai. And then at the same time they were selling it at the distillery. And then after that, about 2 years later, 2010, they started making more of a general release to brick and mortar retail liquor stores. And here I am in 2014 purchasing my first bottle because they just brought it into the liquor store where I live. I think you're getting good value for money here. I paid, well, maybe a little on the high side, but you're getting a good sherry, bourbon, counterpoint, single malt with a bit of complexity brought out by the water. If you like Macallan 12 but can't afford it, consider this. If you like Glendronach 12, consider this, though the Glendronach 12 is probably cheaper. If you like the Glenfarclas offerings, consider this. Not bad. Until next time, cheers and hope to hear from you.